Welcome to the Calm and the Chaos podcast, where we discuss untold heroic experiences and dive into the mindset of the Navy's elite rescue swimmers. Hosted by former U.S. Navy Aviation rescue swimmer, Mount Everest solo Summiteer, and best-selling author Brian Dickinson.
Hey there. Welcome to the Calm and the Chaos podcast. My name is Brian Dickinson. So I served in the U.S. Navy as an aviation rescue swimmer from 93 to 99. I made 2 deployments to the Persian Gulf on the USS Constellation. I was part of HS-2, which is a helicopter squadron. And then I got out and got educated, got my master's degree, and then kind of felt a gap in my life of like my adventure gap. I was just kind of immersed in school and working in the high-tech industry. So I decided to get into mountaineering. And I started climbing. In fact, I decided to climb the highest peaks on the 7 continents, which hadn't been done by too many people at that time, and actually still hasn't been done by too many people. So it was a long process, multi-year endeavor. Because you have the northern and southern hemispheres and just lots of planning, lots of training. I had a young family and full-time job, so just kind of had to balance it out. But it was, it was keeping me fit, keeping me in the camaraderie game of, working with other mountaineers and just the adventure and intensity of just a goal that's bigger than myself. And I'm most known for my Mount Everest journey. So in 2011, I climbed Mount Everest, and I didn't climb as a part of a large group. I climbed as independent. So I had some Sherpa support, but for the most part, I was by myself on the mountain. I ended up soloing the summit. And according to the Himalayan database, I'm one of 2 people to ever have the summit to myself. And I didn't intend to do that. My Sherpa friend Pasong, he ended up getting sick as we were heading to the top. He was going to wait down at an area called the balcony at 27,500 feet. He ended up going all the way down to high camp in the South Col, which is at 26,000 feet, which is the death zone. So there's only a third of the air, a third of the ozone at that altitude. So you can't really survive long. So they call that the death zone because you're slowly dying. You can't survive long. But I continued up, after our conversation, made it to the summit. And then, after less than an hour of just really trying to process, being the only person at the highest point in the world, I started heading down. And just after, maybe 10 steps, 10, 15 steps, I went completely snowblind. Everything went completely white. So snow blindness is the sunburning of the cornea. So when the sun banked off the ice, and just without the protection, I had a goggle malfunction. They had cracked the day prior, blue eyes and more susceptible. I went completely snowblind. And snow blindness it's not like blind where everything is black. Snow blindness is where everything is bright white. It's like if you have a light bulb right in front of your face, you can't focus on anything, and it's super painful. It usually doesn't heal for about 24 hours. Mine was super severe, and it actually didn't heal for about a month and a half. So I clearly didn't have that amount of time to get down. So I just, without panicking, I got up and I started moving and slowly making my way down, hand over hand, just doing everything I could to use my other senses. And I'm not normally blind, so I tried to use my eyes. They just wouldn't work. It was just super painful, and took a major fall on the Hillary Step and the South Summit, and ran out of oxygen, and just never felt alone. I felt this presence around me, and I didn't think too much about it, but just it kept moving, and ended up taking me about 7 hours to get down to high camp, which would normally take about 3 hours. So everyone thought the worst had happened. And, I really witnessed a miracle up there. I felt that presence. I never felt alone. And then when I ran out of oxygen, I prayed in that moment and just, truly witnessed a miracle and had the power of prayer, had people praying for me around the world. And a oxygen bottle that had previously failed actually started working. So I had some air, supplemental oxygen, just mixes with the outside air, and kind of staggered into high camp where Pasang, walked out the last quarter mile and just hugged me. I never saw him coming. So survived blind and alone from the summit of Everest, and it still took 2 days to get down to base camp, and then another couple days to walk the 38 miles out, to get to Lukla to fly to Kathmandu, and then finally back home. And when I got back, like I went through obviously a lot of trauma, a lot of survivor's guilt, and just trying to process everything that occurred up there. And I didn't really have time to process because I had the news, and everyone loves a survival story. They're like at my house, and I'm doing talks, and just dealing with that. So it was definitely a process. And I wrote a book, Blind Descent, and some people wanted to make a movie, and I was just like, I need to process this, and I don't want to do all the Hollywood stuff at this point. Like I'll write a book, and started doing some motivational talks. And the whole reason of my second book, Calm in the Chaos, that came out this year, was because of in those motivational talks, people ask me, how didn't I panic up there? And a lot of it is my military training. So as an aviation rescue swimmer, we are taught to never panic. They weed out, 60+% in attrition. And it's a lot of it comes down to that, whether you can stay calm in the chaos, and they will continually make every day the worst day and put us through scenarios that are impossible in some scenarios. And it's a matter of, how do we respond? And if you can remain calm and you can, take control of the situation, then you can not only survive yourself, but help others survive. And so that's where I feel like the aviation rescue swimmer is the ultimate in serving others, because we are literally jumping from a perfectly good helicopter to save the life of someone we don't even know, and someone that's potentially trying to kill us. They see us as flotation, they're panicking, and we have to gain control of them, get them in the helicopter, and get them to safety. So that's why I wrote the next book, Calm in the Chaos. And I didn't want it a book about myself. I've had different rescues throughout my life, specifically up in high altitude mountains. There's a lot of chaos that goes on up there, but I wanted to just bring some light to the U.S. Navy aviation rescue swimmer community, and to tell some stories that have never been told, back from the Apollo 13 recovery days to Vietnam to Hurricane Katrina, just so many different rescues. I interviewed about 30 different people from past to present, and just included their stories. So I'm pretty proud of the finished product, and I know the response has been very positive. So, but with a book, you can only have so many stories, and there's so many out there that need to be told. So that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going to launch a podcast and make it unique to our job, and to get these stories out there, interview people that have amazing stories that can impact others, how they remain calm in the chaos, but to really explore the mindset of the rescue swimmer, to understand in those moments of complete chaos, when other people are running away from the fight, we are running towards it. We are assessing that situation. We are mapping out a success plan in our head, and we're going to do anything possible to save that life. So I hope that you guys enjoy the Calm in the Chaos podcast. I know I have a lot of people lining up to tell their stories, and just to get raw and personal, and to just understand what is different about those that are willing to die if they have to, just for the purpose so that others may live.
Thank you for listening to the Calm in the Chaos podcast. Please subscribe to be notified of future episodes, and if you enjoyed what you just heard, please leave a 5-star review on whatever platform you listen to podcasts. Until next time, get out there and make a difference so others may live.